Rhett Thompson's heart pounded as the expensive laptop slipped from his grasp and slammed onto the marble floor of the executive suite. In that split second, his life as a single father scraping by in New York City was about to collide with the world of the powerful CEO in ways he never could have imagined. The crash echoed through the quiet penthouse office on the 42nd floor of Hale Tech Tower, and Rhett froze, his calloused hands still outstretched in a futile attempt to catch it. He had only been doing his job, wiping down the massive oak desk after a long night shift that started at midnight. Ethan, his 14-year-old son, was waiting at home with a half-finished science project and a fridge that needed stocking. Money was tight. Always had been since his wife Sarah passed 5 years ago in that rainy highway accident. Rhett had buried his own questions about who he really was back then, focusing instead on being the dad Ethan needed, the one who coached Little League and showed up for parent-teacher nights no matter how exhausted he felt. Now this. He dropped to his knees, heart racing, and picked up the sleek silver device. The screen had cracked in a spiderweb pattern, but amazingly, it flickered to life when he pressed the power button to check the damage. A folder labeled Private Reflections popped open automatically, the password prompt bypassed by the impact. Rhett's eyes scanned the first entry before he could stop himself. Another day pretending. Board meeting went well, but inside I'm screaming. Why can't I just tell them who I am? The new janitor, Rhett, caught my eye today in the elevator. Something about his quiet strength reminds me I'm not alone in this fight. The words hit Rhett like a punch to the gut. Jasper Hale, the ruthless 32-year-old CEO everyone feared and respected, was writing about being gay. About hiding it. About noticing him. Rhett slammed the lid shut, his face burning, but the image was seared into his mind. He had spent years pushing down similar feelings, dating women to please his conservative family back in Ohio who still called every Sunday asking when he would find a nice girl for Ethan. He carefully placed the laptop back on the desk, wiped away the smudge of his fingerprint, and finished his shift in a daze. The subway ride home to their cramped Brooklyn apartment felt endless. Ethan was asleep on the couch, textbooks scattered around him. Rhett tucked a blanket over his son and stared at the ceiling until dawn, wondering if this was some kind of sign or just another cruel twist in a life already full of them. The next morning, he returned to work with a knot in his stomach, expecting the worst. Security would probably escort him out. Instead, at 9 sharp, his supervisor called him up to the executive floor. Jasper Hale stood behind his desk, arms crossed, the damaged laptop open in front of him. His dark hair was perfectly styled, green eyes sharp behind designer glasses, but there was something different in his posture today, less ice and more uncertainty. Thompson, Jasper said, voice clipped at first. Explain this. Rhett swallowed hard, meeting the CEO's gaze. It was an accident, sir. I knocked it over while cleaning. I tried to check if it still worked, and I saw some files. I'm sorry. I won't say a word to anyone. The silence stretched. Then Jasper's shoulders relaxed just a fraction, his expression shifting from fury to something raw and vulnerable. For the first time since Rhett had started this job 6 months ago, the CEO didn't look like an untouchable boss. He looked like a man carrying the same weight Rhett had hidden for years. Sit down, Rhett, Jasper said quietly, using his first name for the first time ever. We need to talk. That single sentence changed the air between them. Rhett lowered himself into the leather chair, pulse thundering, as Jasper closed the office door. The city hummed 42 stories below, but inside this room, 2 men who had spent their lives building walls were suddenly seeing each other clearly for the first time. Rhett thought about his son, his family, the years of silence. Jasper thought about the journal entry that had been exposed. Neither knew it yet, but this accident was the beginning of everything. Jasper leaned against the edge of his desk, loosening his tie as if the weight of the secret had suddenly become too heavy to bear alone. You weren't supposed to see that, he admitted, voice low and surprisingly gentle. No one was. I've built this company from the ground up to prove I belong in this world, but every night I write in that journal because keeping it inside is killing me. Rhett shifted in his seat, the leather creaking under his work uniform. He had expected yelling, maybe termination papers shoved across the desk. Instead, Jasper poured 2 cups of coffee from the sleek machine in the corner and handed one over. Black, right? I noticed you in the break room once." The small detail sent a spark through Rhett he hadn't felt in years. They talked for over an hour that morning, the kind of conversation Rhett had never had with anyone. Jasper shared how his wealthy parents in Connecticut still pushed him toward the perfect society wife, how the board would revolt if they knew the truth. Rhett opened up about Sarah, about raising Ethan alone while his sister back home kept sending links to dating sites for good Christian women. "I loved her," Rhett said quietly. "But after she was gone, I started wondering if I had been honest with myself all along." Jasper nodded, green eyes softening. "That journal. It started as a way to survive. Now it's the only place I can be real." By the time Rhett left the office, his shift long over, something had shifted. Jasper insisted on covering the laptop repair himself and even asked Rhett to stop by after work the next day to help test it. "Off the books," he added with a small smile that made Rhett's chest tighten. The following evening, they met at a quiet cafe near the tower, away from prying eyes. Jasper arrived in jeans and a hoodie instead of his usual suit, looking younger, more approachable. They talked about everything and nothing, laughing over Ethan's latest school prank and Jasper's disastrous attempt at cooking last weekend. Rhett felt seen for the first time in forever. But doubt crept in on the subway ride home. What if this was pity? What if Jasper regretted opening up? Ethan greeted him at the door with a hug, oblivious to the storm in his father's mind. "Dad, you seem different tonight." "Good different." Rhett ruffled his son's hair and forced a smile. Inside, the conflict raged. He had spent years protecting Ethan from his family's judgment. Now a single conversation with the CEO was cracking every defense he had built. The next week passed in a blur of stolen moments. Jasper started leaving small notes on his desk for Rhett to find during night shifts, simple things like, "Thanks for listening," or a recommendation for a book on identity and courage. Rhett read them in secret, heart racing. One afternoon, Jasper surprised him by showing up at Ethan's soccer game in disguise, baseball cap pulled low. They stood side by side on the sidelines, cheering, and for a moment Rhett allowed himself to imagine what life could look like if he stopped hiding. But reality crashed back when his phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Mom and Dad are coming to visit next month. They want to meet whoever you're dating." "Time to move on, Rhett." He deleted the message, but the words lingered. That night, alone in his apartment, Rhett stared at the ceiling again. Jasper had changed his attitude completely, from distant boss to someone who truly saw him. Yet the fear of what came next kept Rhett awake. The misunderstanding began small when a coworker noticed them talking too long in the elevator and whispered about favoritism. Rhett brushed it off, but the seed of doubt was planted. Was this real, or was Jasper just grateful the secret was safe? The psychological weight grew heavier with every passing day, pulling Rhett deeper into the very identity he had fought to ignore. The tension at work thickened like fog rolling off the Hudson. Rhett kept his head down during shifts, but Jasper's new warmth was impossible to miss. He started joining Rhett for quick lunches in the empty conference room, sharing stories of his own lonely childhood in a mansion where emotions were never discussed. "My parents loved the idea of me," Jasper said one afternoon, voice cracking slightly. "Not the real me." Rhett listened, offering the kind of steady presence he gave Ethan every day. In return, Jasper helped with practical things, like fixing the leaky faucet in Rhett's apartment during a weekend visit that felt dangerously domestic. Ethan liked him immediately, calling him Mr. Hale at first, then just Jasper after a board game night that ended in laughter. But the cracks were forming. Rhett's closest friend at the company, a fellow janitor named Marcus, noticed the extra attention and pulled him aside one night. "Watch yourself, man. Guys like him don't stick around with guys like us. He's probably just using the accident as an excuse." The words planted seeds of betrayal that would bloom later. Rhett brushed it off, but the doubt festered. Then came the first real test. Jasper invited Rhett to a low-key company retreat upstate, framing it as a way to test the repaired laptop in a quiet setting. They drove up together in Jasper's understated sedan, windows down, classic rock playing. For 2 days they hiked trails and talked late into the night by the fireplace. One evening, under a blanket of stars, Jasper reached over and gently took Rhett's hand. "I don't want to hide anymore," he whispered. "Not with you." Rhett's breath caught. The moment was beautiful, full of promise, but fear won. He pulled away, mumbling something about Ethan and responsibilities. The drive home was quiet, the budding romance strained by Rhett's retreat. Back in the city, his family arrived for their visit, filling the apartment with questions about his social life. His mother hugged Ethan tight and whispered to Rhett, "You need a mother figure for that boy. It's not natural, raising him alone forever." The words echoed Jasper's own family pressures when he confided over the phone later that week about a board member pushing an arranged introduction to a female executive. Misunderstandings mounted when Marcus overheard a late-night call and misinterpreted Jasper's concern for Rhett as something manipulative. He confronted Rhett in the locker room. "He's the CEO. You're just the help. Don't let him play you." Rhett defended Jasper hotly, but the argument left him shaken. That night he lay awake, replaying every interaction, wondering if the secret on the laptop had only opened a door he wasn't ready to walk through. The psychological conflict deepened. Rhett started avoiding Jasper at work, choosing extra shifts to stay busy. Jasper noticed and sent a text, "I changed because of you. Don't pull away now." Rhett stared at the message for hours before replying with a single word, "Sorry." The distance hurt them both, but it also forced Rhett to confront the truth. Hiding had kept him safe, but it was slowly breaking him. When Ethan came home from school one day asking why Dad seemed sad, Rhett realized the stakes. His son deserved a father who lived honestly. The decision to reach out to Jasper again came after a long walk along the Brooklyn Bridge, city lights reflecting on the water like possibilities. He dialed the number. "Can we talk? Really talk?" Jasper's answer was immediate. "My door is always open for you." The call ended the silence, but the real challenges were only beginning. Family expectations and societal whispers were closing in, and a bigger betrayal waited just around the corner. The turning point arrived on a rainy Thursday when Jasper's family flew in unexpectedly for a board meeting. Rhett learned about it when Jasper canceled their usual coffee and texted a hurried apology. Later that evening, Rhett's sister called again, pressing harder about the upcoming family reunion back in Ohio. "Bring someone this time, or Mom will start setting you up herself." The pressure built until Rhett couldn't breathe. He showed up at Jasper's apartment unannounced, soaked from the rain, and poured out everything. Jasper listened, then pulled him into a quiet embrace that felt like coming home. "We don't have to figure it all out tonight," he said. "But I'm not letting fear win anymore." They spent the night talking strategy, not romance, deciding small steps forward. Jasper would come out to one trusted board member first. Rhett would tell Ethan the truth about his feelings. It felt like progress until Marcus, feeling sidelined by their growing closeness, made a careless comment to another coworker about the boss playing favorites with the janitor because of some secret. The rumors spread like wildfire through the lower floors. Rhett confronted Marcus in the parking garage after shift. "Why would you do that?" His friend looked away, ashamed but defensive. "I was worried about you. Guys like him destroy people like us." The betrayal stung deeper than Rhett expected. He had trusted Marcus with stories about Ethan, about money struggles. Now that trust was shattered. Jasper heard the whispers too and called an emergency meeting with HR to shut them down, but the damage was done. Rhett's family got wind of the rumors through a cousin who worked in the city and demanded answers over a tense video call. "Is there something you're not telling us about this job?" his father barked. Rhett hung up, hands shaking. The sacrifice he made next was instinctive. He drafted a resignation letter, ready to quit to protect Jasper's reputation and shield Ethan from the fallout. When he slid it across Jasper's desk the next morning, Jasper's face paled. "You can't do this." Not because of them. Their argument escalated, voices rising for the first time. Rhett shouted about duty and family. Jasper countered with the truth that hiding had cost him years of happiness. In the end, Jasper tore up the letter and pulled Rhett close. "We face this together or not at all." The emotional climax of that week came during Ethan's school play. Jasper attended despite the risk, sitting in the back row. Afterward, Ethan ran up and hugged him without hesitation. "Thanks for coming, Jasper. Dad smiles more when you're around." The simple words broke something open in Rhett. On the walk home, he finally said the words aloud. "I'm gay, Ethan. And Jasper, he's important to me." His son paused, processing, then shrugged with teenage wisdom. "As long as you're happy, Dad." Relief flooded Rhett, But the bigger storm was brewing. Jasper's parents had caught wind of the office rumors and demanded a family dinner to discuss his future. Rhett offered to stay away, another sacrifice, but Jasper refused. This is my life too. The decision to attend the dinner together would test everything they had built. As they drove to the upscale restaurant, hands clasped on the gear shift, both men knew the consequences could change their futures forever. Yet for the first time, the fear felt smaller than the love growing between them. The upscale restaurant in Midtown buzzed with quiet conversations as Jasper's parents arrived, elegant and imposing. Rhett sat beside Jasper, heart hammering, wearing the one decent button-down he owned. Jasper's mother smiled politely at first, but her eyes sharpened when introductions revealed Rhett's job title. A janitor, she repeated, voice dripping disbelief. The conversation turned tense fast. Jasper's father launched into a lecture about legacy and image, subtly referencing appropriate partnerships for the company. Rhett stayed silent, gripping his water glass, but when Jasper's mother suggested a blind date with a female colleague, something snapped. Jasper stood, voice steady. I'm gay, Mom. Dad. I've been gay my whole life, and Rhett is the man I love. The accident with my laptop opened my eyes to how tired I am of hiding. The table went silent. Rhett's presence beside him was the proof they couldn't ignore. His parents left abruptly, promising a family discussion later. Outside on the sidewalk, Jasper exhaled shakily. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Thank you for being here. Rhett pulled him into a hug right there on the busy street, ignoring the stares. We did it together. But the aftermath hit hard. The board called an emergency session, and Jasper spent 3 sleepless nights fighting to keep his position. Rhett supported him with late-night texts and home-cooked meals delivered to the office. Ethan became their quiet cheerleader, even helping Jasper rehearse his statements. The misunderstanding that nearly broke them came when Marcus, regretting his earlier betrayal but still wary, anonymously tipped off Rhett's family about the dinner. Rhett's parents flew in unannounced, confronting him at the apartment door. We raised you better, his father growled. This isn't the life for Ethan. Rhett stood his ground, explaining his journey since Sarah's death, the years of quiet struggle. Tears flowed, accusations flew, but when Ethan stepped between them and said, Dad's happy now. That's what matters, the room shifted. His parents left without hugs, but the door wasn't slammed shut forever. The sacrifice Rhett made in that moment was choosing truth over approval, knowing it might cost him the family he grew up with. Jasper faced his own consequences when a major investor pulled funding citing instability. He worked around the clock to salvage deals, but the stress showed in dark circles under his eyes. Rhett was there every night, reminding him of the man who had changed because of one broken laptop. Their love deepened in those quiet hours, built on shared vulnerability rather than grand gestures. A weekend away in a small cabin upstate gave them space to breathe. They hiked, cooked together, and talked about the future without secrets. Yet the psychological toll lingered. Rhett still woke some nights wondering if he had ruined everything for the people he loved. Jasper reassured him with actions, like anonymously funding Ethan's college savings fund. The big turning point came when Jasper's parents called unexpectedly, asking to meet Rhett again, this time without demands. Your courage made us think, his mother admitted over the phone. Small steps, but steps forward. As the city lights twinkled outside the cabin window, both men realized the journey had transformed them. Identity was no longer something to fear, but something to embrace. The final confrontation waited, but they were ready. The company gala was the setting for the emotional peak neither man saw coming. Hale Tech Tower glittered with crystal chandeliers and hundreds of influential guests. Jasper stood at the podium in a tailored tuxedo, Rhett beside him in a rented suit that felt both foreign and right. The room hushed as Jasper began his speech, not about quarterly earnings, but about authenticity. 6 months ago, a simple accident with my laptop changed my life. It forced me to face who I am and who I want to be. Today I stand here openly as a gay man, proud of the company we've built and grateful for the person who helped me find my voice. He reached for Rhett's hand on stage. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but applause followed from many. Marcus, watching from the back, nodded in quiet apology, their friendship mending through a later conversation filled with honest regret. Rhett's family watched via live stream from Ohio, his mother's face softening on the screen. The acceptance wasn't total, but it was real. Ethan cheered from the front row, proud of his dad in a way that healed years of hidden pain. After the event, in the quiet of Jasper's apartment overlooking the skyline, they reflected on the path. The misunderstandings, the betrayal from well-meaning friends, the sacrifices of careers and family approval, all led here. Rhett thought about the cracked laptop that had started it all, how one moment of clumsiness unlocked not just files but hearts. Jasper smiled, pulling him close. I changed my attitude that day because you saw me, really saw me, without judgment. Their love had weathered every storm, proving stronger than tradition or fear. Ethan thrived with two supportive adults in his life, and the company flourished under Jasper's authentic leadership. Small steps continued. Sunday dinners with Jasper's parents grew warmer, and Rhett's family planned a tentative visit. The journey wasn't over, but the foundation was solid. Growth had come through every hard decision, every tear, every choice to stand together. As they watched the sunrise paint the city gold the next morning, hands intertwined, Rhett knew he had found more than love. He had found himself. True or false? A single act of courage can rewrite the story of two lives forever.